Sevgili seyirciler, CNBC-e'ye ekranlarından merhaba. Ben Nesrin İçli. Diplomasi Dünyası'nın bugünkü konuğu Meksika İstanbul Başkonsolosu Alberto Fierro Garza. Dear Consul General, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Merhaba.
Merhaba. We met you at receptions. Now I'm very happy to see you again. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you. I'm
Thank you.
thrilled to be here.
Thank you. Can you tell us about yourself, your previous duties, and your hobbies?
Yes, well, I am a career diplomat since 33 years. I studied sociology and Latin American history. I did a master's and a PhD on that. But I always, since high school, fantasized with the idea of being a cultural attaché for Mexico. I had read a book about a cultural attaché, and I knew that with such richness of Mexican culture, that it would be a fantastic job to be able to show the people in the world about the richness of Mexico heritage. So I became first a cultural promoter in Mexico. I worked for 6 years in the public library service, and I traveled throughout the country, the 32 states that make Mexico. I went to every population that had more than 1,500 citizens, promoting people to read in public libraries through culture. So I presented theater, music, and many things at public libraries. But I always thought, oh, I wish I could do this also abroad. So after that experience, I went back to my university for several years, but I felt that the world was bigger than my university. So there was a call from my foreign ministry to become a part of the foreign service. So I presented the exam. We were 1,500 people presenting the exam, and we were only 50 people were chosen, and I was one of those 50 people.
Congrats.
And so, and when I presented it, I did see myself, I thought, I do see me in the next 30 years in different positions at the foreign ministry. And well, now I can tell you I've been in several different places, most of them in North America. I was first...
Long time you stayed in United States?
I was first 3 years in Washington as deputy cultural attaché. For me, it was impressive that my first position was in the capital of the empire, and it was interesting to learn about it. Then I went to Canada for 3 years. That was also a very interesting experience to see the other, to represent Mexico there, but also to learn of the other neighbor of the United States, Canada. Then I went back to Mexico, and I was in 3 different positions. That was at the foreign ministry in charge of North America. Then I was invited by the Ministry of Culture to be in charge of international affairs. So it was one of my dream jobs I visited with the Minister of Culture many countries precisely to do agreements to showcase Mexico through exhibitions, through film festivals, through our artists. Then I was invited by my minister to be in charge of culture and education at the ministry in Mexico. So that was also a fantastic experience because I was able to travel throughout the world promoting cultural exchanges, but also academic exchanges with all the countries of the world. And then all Mexican diplomats must do at least 2 years of consular work, because we have 53 consulates in the United States.
Oh.
because we have 10 million people born in Mexico that live in the US. And so those consulates are the ones that give service to the Mexicans. So I was sent first to Orlando, Florida, where there's 600,000 Mexicans. So it was a fantastic experience to learn how to treat those those nationals, what their needs are in terms of education, in terms of health, in consular services. Then I was sent to Minneapolis and St. Paul, a fantastic city where there's also 300,000 Mexicans. And there are lots of people very interested in working with the Mexican diaspora. So it was fantastic years. Then I was taken back to Washington again to be the head of the Cultural Institute. That we have a beautiful cultural institute in an old mansion made in 1910 in the middle of Washington, with beautiful murals by a disciple of Diego Rivera. And so I was able to be there, a 3 years program showcasing how Mexicans, through culture, really help the world and help the United States and showcase Mexico.
You have a great career.
Yeah, from there I was sent to Boston as Consul General, and I lived there the pandemic years. And after 6 years, it was time to move, and I asked to come here.
Oh.
I had been here 42 years ago, and I fell in love with Turkey and with Istanbul.
It changed a lot.
It has changed a lot, of course. It has grown impressively.
Mm-hmm.
But
Touristic aim, you arrived in Turkey
my
the first time?
My first trip, yes, I was finishing college or a little more. It was my first trip to Europe.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I was traveling. I went to Paris, then to Venice, and in Venice I said, no, I have to be at the beginning of the Byzantine
civilization.
Area. And so I took the train. Now I think it was very responsible because I didn't have visa for Yugoslavia or Bulgaria or Turkey.
Balkan countries.
But I was able to do it, and the moment I crossed into Turkey, I felt at home. It reminded me Mexico. And so since then I was very interested and curious to know how had Turkey developed and done its own.
Yeah. Many years later, you came back, and I hope that you are happy to work in Turkey, in Istanbul.
I'm very, very happy to be here.
Thank you.
It is my last position as diplomat, and so I think it's the perfect way to crown my history as a diplomat.
Thank you. And how would you describe the current state of diplomatic relations between Mexico and Turkey?
Well, we have very good relations. The consulate in Istanbul just opened 10 years ago. For many years, almost 100 years, the political relationship happened in Ankara. But Istanbul is so important that many things happen here that could not be seen in Ankara. So they decided to open the consulate 10 years ago. And here the role of the consulate has been to strengthen the previous relations that were built in Ankara. And so that is why Mexico decided to have a permanent space here. And it's interesting how now I've seen that many other Latin American countries like Brazil, Uruguay, Panama, and Colombia have opened consulates here too for the same reason,
Very nice.
to help the embassies in Ankara.
And what are some shared values between Mexico and Turkey in international platforms?
Well, we are in the same in many different groups.
Values,
We are
yeah.
at the United Nations. We are at OECD, which is the Organization for Economic Development. We are in the G20, and we are in the MICTA, which is Mexico, Indonesia, Korea, Turkey, and Australia, which is a group of developing countries
Synergy. It's very
that
nice.
share similar values. The most important is to strengthen the United Nations to help preserve our planet, to take care of water, to take care of oceans, take care of environment, and also to fight poverty and to push for better development.
Yeah. And the trade volume between Mexico and Turkey has been growing. Which sectors are the most promising for the future?
Well, the trade has really grown.
Yeah.
Right now, the bilateral trade is 2.5 billion. But it's interesting that it's only 433 million are exports from Mexico to Turkey, and it's mostly agricultural goods. And Turkey exports $1,656 million to Mexico. And the most important sectors there is auto parts and aerospace material.
Very important sector.
And I think another area that is very important is infrastructure building.
Very nice. What steps are being taken to increase tourism activities between our countries?
Well, there is a direct flight by Turkish
Very
Airlines from Istanbul to Mexico City, and it
How
also
long does it take, the flight?
14 hours. So it's a long
Okay,
flight.
yeah.
And on the trip back, it stops in Cancun. So if a Turkish
The most
person,
important city, Cancun, the most
well, it's the
attractions.
it's the most visited city
Yeah.
in Mexico because of the beautiful beaches that are
Yeah.
in the Maya Riviera, and all our fantastic archaeological sites that are there. There is now a new train, the Tren Maya, that goes around the Yucatecan Peninsula, and
Very
that so
nice.
you can arrive to Cancun and then take the train and visit around.
Very nice.
So what are we doing? Well, there's already 150,000 Mexicans coming every year to Turkey. 69% of the travel between both countries, 69% are Mexicans coming here. So now we need more Turkish people to go over there.
Okay, we should visit this beautiful country. And are there any cultural collaborations between our countries?
Well, there's always things going on. There, for example,
Festivals, concerts.
Yeah, a couple at the beginning of September. There was a Mexican exhibit of Mexican artists here that will be presented in Ankara afterwards. We had a Mexican film in Beyoğlu a couple weeks ago. We will have a Mexican musician at the end of the month. So there's always things happening. There was the director of a museum here a couple weeks ago checking what exhibitions could they take to Mexico from here. And she will be taking most likely an exhibit about reading that is at the Museum of Modern Art of Istanbul. So there's a lot of things going on. both countries, we don't plan ahead that much, not like in the US or in some parts of Europe. So it's more like we're doing it in the making. But there's not a month. I've been here only 3 months, but in the 3 months, I've seen so many people coming to look for things that we can do together.
Yes, we like Mexican culture. And are there any academic exchange programs between Mexican and Turkish institutions?
Yes, there is Turkey has a fantastic program, not only for Mexicans but in general, that promotes graduate studies here. That people come and do 1 year of language and then they can do a master's. So I've known several Mexicans that come and participate in that program. And some of them stay here and get
They
married.
like
and
the country.
And Mexico also offers scholarships to go to Mexico. You can go just for 1 year to do practices, or you can decide to do a master's degree too.
And what do you think people in Mexico admire most about Turkey?
We all know in Mexico of the historical part of Turkey, and that's something that we feel also we share. In Mexico, we have the fantastic pre-Hispanic civilizations that went for years, and we have those archaeological sites. You also have fantastic archaeological sites, but also, as you know, both Mexico and Turkey have been very important in producing TV programs, the telenovelas called in soap
Show
operas.
programs, TV series.
Yeah, TV series. And so many Mexicans know Turkey through your soap opera. So many women come here even after that, looking for to see if they can find a husband, and sometimes they do.
Some marriages as well. Good.
Yeah.
Yes, and how do you see the role of consulates and embassies evolving in today's complex world?
We are adjusting to the new realities.
Yeah.
As, for example, in terms of cultural diplomacy. For many years, consuls or embassies would be the ones that would organize cultural events of the country. But now, with all social media, with so many NGOs, the private sector, as you know, here in Turkey, has a very important role in promoting culture. So embassies and consulates are still important because we are the ones that we try to make those connections happen, and then we push those connections. Yeah. But we cannot work alone. We have to, for example, in my 3 months here, I've been visiting directors of museums, contacting universities, the chambers of commerce, knocking on the doors to say, hey, I'm here from Mexico. I want to push Mexican interests here, but I want to make alliances with you. And so that's our role. We go and knock doors, and then we we build upon those relations.
Yeah. Could you highlight some of the milestones of relations between our countries?
Yes, I would think in two. There was a visit 10 years ago, was an important moment in 2015. In 2013, President Peña Nieto, 2 presidents ago, he came in 2013, and then in 2015, President Erdogan visited Mexico. And in that visit, it was important because that elevated our relationship into a strategic partnership. What does that mean? We both both countries recognized how important we both are in the international arena and how important it is that we work together precisely to become stronger together, especially if our voices are heard in international fora. So that was a very important moment of our relationship. And another thing that we share, the two countries, as I've said, are developing economies, so we have been developing very similarly. But we both have a lot of earthquakes. There's big seismic reality, both in Mexico and in Turkey. And so in Mexico we have, well, my university fell, for example, where I studied. There's nothing there. It fell in 1977, and then in 1985 there was a huge Mexican earthquake, and then another one in 2017. But so we have a big group of volunteers that have learned how to rescue victims. So when you had the earthquake of February of 2023, Mexico sent an important group of volunteers here to help rescue victims. And it included 16 dogs that had been trained to rescue. And one of them became very famous, Proteo, who was here and unfortunately lost his life rescuing a victim.
What advice do you have to young people who want to become diplomats?
Well, first to study very much, to work hard, to be prepared. I don't know exactly how it is here in Turkey, but I imagine that it's very similar to Mexico. I have met, for example, in Boston, I met 3 of your consul generals, and they were all impeccable, intelligent, and very well prepared. So I'm sure that they studied hard to present the exam to join the foreign ministry. So I would say if you really want to be part of your foreign service, it's a fantastic experience once you get there, but you have to work hard to get there. So study hard, work on it, and then once you're there, you will see how fantastic it is to be in different parts of the world, talking about your country, representing their interests, and being a wonderful Turkish diplomat.
Yeah. And are there any events related to gastronomic diplomacy? We like Mexican food.
Well, there have been for many years always some Mexican chefs have come here to show our food. We are very, very proud of Mexican gastronomy. It has grown impressively in the world, and it is one of our big ambassadors.
Yes.
And there's so much variety of Mexican food. We have, as I mentioned, 32 states, and each state has a different cuisine. Most of the elements are similar. They come from things that grow in the maize. So beans, tomatoes, corn, chile, spices. Yeah. So we love to showcase it here. There's a chain of Mexican restaurants here. There's 11 restaurants of that chain. And there are other Mexican restaurants, but I still think that we have to do a lot more. Mexico now has a new program to certify good Mexican cuisine abroad. It's called M, like Mexico. So we hope that we'll have
like
the opportunity.
Like a signature.
Yeah.
You should teach your cuisine.
Yeah.
What are the most popular Mexican dishes?
Well, there are so many,
Tacos,
but
Alberto.
one that is everywhere and that you can get here too is tamales, which is like a cake of corn filled with either chicken with salsa or with chiles and cheese. So there are tamales. It's a little cake, and they can be filled of many things. So it depends on where they're done. Sometimes they are baked in corn. Sometimes they are baked in banana leaves. They're delicious, and those you can get here. Mole is some kind of curry made of many chiles and chocolate and peanuts. And so there's also many varieties of moles, but you can get them everywhere.
And do you like Turkish cuisine? What do you prefer? Your favorite dishes from Turkish cuisine?
I love the possibility of choosing every day different messes that open
With
up.
fish?
And then I do love kebab. It's
Traditional.
That's my base.
Yes.
My favorite.
And what are tourist attractions in Mexico?
Well, depends on what you want, and that's why we are a big country, even a little bit bigger than Turkey. And so we have jungles, we have desert, we have mountains, so it depends on what you want. If you like, for example, archaeological sites in the Yucatan and in Chiapas, in the middle of the jungle, we have those beautiful places, and where you can also go and visit, do ecotourism. But you can also go visit colonial cities that were mining cities that are in the mountains, like Tasco or Zacatecas, Guanajuato. They're in the middle of the country, in the middle of the mountains, and they're gorgeous, and they have very, very beautiful colonial. And when I say colonial, it's Mexico was for 300 years part of Spain. We were the viceroyalty of Spain. And so colonial times are precisely from 1521 that the Spanish arrived to Mexico City and conquered the Aztecs to 1820. That we became independent in 1821.
Yes. And what has impressed you most about Turkey and Istanbul when you arrived here?
Well, I never finished to be impressed.
Discover something.
The beautiful mosques that you have.
Architecture.
The architecture is
history.
fantastic. I'm impressed with the infrastructure and how huge Istanbul has become, but the very good tunnels and highways that are there. And well, September, as you know, was a very month with many, many cultural activities. There was a biennale, the photography festival, the contemporary art festival. So I was impressed with the amount of offerings by the government, by also the private sector. So I haven't had the time to visit other parts of Turkey this time. Oh, I just went to Ankara for 24 hours. And I was very impressed with the train. It was
the view
gorgeous
is
ride,
interesting.
yes.
Yeah. And
But the most important thing has been the hospitality.
Yes, very friendly.
Everybody is very friendly. Even if they don't speak English, they will make a big effort to try to understand each other.
When do you see the cats in the street? Are you surprised? Or in Mexico, do you see?
No, we don't have cats in the streets in Mexico. We have dogs. But it's very nice to see how there are so many, but how many people take care of them. So, and they come and visit. So
Finally, do you have a message for Turkish people?
Yes, of course. To continue working hard as you already do, to continue making this country the fantastic country that it is. And it's only with hard work that happens. Also, to be open to know more about the world, not only center in Turkey, learn about other countries, visit them if you can, because that will make Turkey even more strong.
Yeah. Dear Consul General, it was a great conversation with you. Thank you very much for your participation and sharing your vision with us.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's been a wonderful experience being here with you.
Thank you again. Sevgili seyirciler, programımızın sonuna geldik. Tekrar görüşmek dileğiyle. Hoşça kalın, mutlu kalın.